The House now returns from recess. When we last left off, we left off in the bill calendar acting on the budget. So now I'd like to, we move back to item number 3, which is the adoption of journals. And before we do that, I'd like to recognize the floor leader to make a motion to suspend certain rules to amend the agenda for today. We received some communications during the recess, so we would just like to include those in today's agenda. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And with that, I offer a motion to suspend Rule 3, Section 6, under notice of session to include unnumbered bills and resolution and communication. So move.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made by the floor leader to suspend pertinent rules to amend the agenda to include communications and unnumbered bills and resolutions that did not make the 72 hours. And it has been seconded. Any discussions on the floor? Ready? Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll. All right, thank you. Before we proceed with the roll call on the motion by the floor leader, I'd like to, for the record, let the record reflect that Representative Edwin Probst is present for today's session, and Representative Lipan as well. Yep. Thank you, colleague Lipan. Clerk, please.
Representative Adat? Representative Ato?
Yes.
Representative Selena Babalta?
Ngan.
Representative Joel Camacho?
Good.
Representative Vicente Camacho?
Yes.
Representative Mapan?
Good.
Representative Guerrero?
Ngan.
Representative Lezama?
Yes.
Representative Magofnia? Representative Manglonia?
Yes.
Representative Probst?
Yes.
Representative Cristina Sablan? Representative John Paul Sablan?
Ngan.
Representative Nicolas?
Ngan.
Representative Yang Tamay?
Yes.
Representative Yumo?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, 16 members present voted yes.
Thank you, Clerk. With all 16 members present voting yes, the motion is hereby carries. We now move down to item number 3, adoption of journals, and I recognize the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under item 3, adoption of journals, we have one item, first day, fourth special session journal dated July 18, 2022.
Thank you, Clerk. I now like to recognize the floor leader for the proper motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And now offer a motion to adopt first day, fourth special session journal dated July 18, 2022. So move.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made by the floor leader to adopt the first day, fourth special session journal dated July 18, 2022, and has been seconded. Any discussions on the floor? Ready? All in favor to adopt the journal, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The journal is hereby adopted. Thank you, colleagues. We now move down to item number 4, introduction of bills, and I'd like to recognize Representative Vicente C. Camacho.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am honored to introduce House Bill number 22-112 to amend Title I, Division 8 of the Commonwealth Code by establishing a veterans preference employment provision for the CNMI government and for other purposes pre-filed by myself. Mr. Speaker, if there are no objections, I would like to offer this bill to the committee as a whole. Thank you.
I have no objections, members. No objection. Okay. So your bill, House Bill 22-112 is hereby introduced as a whole. Thank you, colleague.
Thank you, Speaker.
Yep. House Bill number 22-112 is referred to the Committee on JGO. We now move down to the next House Bill, and I'd like to recognize Representative John Paul Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Officially introducing House Bill number 22-113, a bill to amend HCMC subsection 1204 to remove the 10-day restriction to submit a marriage certificate by any religious or non-religious entity and for other purposes, offered by myself and co-sponsored by several others. And if there's no objection, Mr. Speaker, if I may ask that we place this on today's bill calendar, as there are some sense of urgency with regards to spouse beneficiaries claiming their beneficiaries with the settlement fund. If there's no objection, thank you.
I have no objection. No objection? Okay, thank you. I'd like to recognize the floor leader for the proper motion to place House Bill 22-113 on today's bill calendar. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And with that, so that we're in line with the rules, I have a motion to suspend Rule 9, Section 8, referrals of bills and resolution to place House Bill number 22-113 to the calendar today. So move.
Sorry about that. Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made by the floor leader to suspend pertinent rules to place House Bill number 22-113 on today's bill calendar for action, and it has been seconded. Any discussions? Ready? All in favor of the motion, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The motion is hereby carried, and House Bill 22-113 will be placed on today's calendar for action. Thank you, colleagues. We now move down to the next bill. I'd like to recognize Representative Yanktamai on behalf of Representative Leila Staffler to introduce the next two House bills.
Okay, thank you, Speaker. On behalf of Rep. Leila Staffler, I'm officially introducing House Bill number 22-114 to enact a provision to provide tax incentives for employers who hire individuals with special needs, pre-filed by Rep. Leila Staffler and others. May I continue? Okay. I'm also, on behalf of Rep. Leila Staffler, I'm officially introducing House Bill number 22-115 to require all contractors to be licensed in the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands and for other purposes, pre-filed by Rep. Leila Staffler and others. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Yanktamai. House Bill 22-114 will be referred to the Committee on Ways and Means and Health and Welfare. And House Bill 22-115 will be referred to the Committee on JGO. Thank you, colleagues. And with no further introductions, we move down to House local bills. We have none. House legislative initiatives, we have none. We move down to item 5, introduction of resolutions. And I now recognize Representative Joseph Lipan Guerrero.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is to officially introduce House Resolution number 22-23 to commend Dina A. Tenorio in honor and recognition as the first female indigenous person from the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas Island as a certified commercial diver and for her dedication and success as an innovative young entrepreneur in the Sinamay. Mr. Speaker, if there's no objection, I would like to introduce this as committee as a whole. Thank you.
No objection. All right, thank you, Representative Lipan. House Resolution number 22-23 is now hereby introduced as a whole of the committee and will be placed on today's resolution calendar for action. We move down to House Joint Resolutions. We have none. We have none under House Commemorative Resolutions. We have none under House Concurrent Resolution. We now move down to item number 6, messages from the governor, and I recognize the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under item 6, messages from the governor, we have Governor's Communication 22-150 through 22-161. 22-160 and 22-161 has been added by the House.
Thank you, clerk, and I know the copies have been distributed to the members, correct? So with that, any discussion under governor's communications or messages from the governor? Recognize Representative Donald Manglonia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleague, this is in reference to Governor's Communication 22-115 and 22-159 We continuously get these renewal declaration for emergency declaration in regards to containment measures concerning the COVID-19. However, the committee, as well as the legislature, has not received any reports as to the expenditures, as well as any funds that have been received to date, including reimbursements. And so the committee approved a subpoena ducis tecum, which was issued to the acting secretary on Monday to subpoena documents, as opposed to what was reported in the news. We did not subpoena the Secretary of Finance. We did, however, voted on and served the subpoena ducis tecum to request for documents pertaining to several reports that have been promised during committee meetings, as well as fund status pertaining to some of the allocations that have yet to be transferred over to other agencies. And so I just wanted to inform the House members that these are some of this was the action taken by the committee in order to further find out how much to date have been expended and how much is owed to vendors. And hopefully we receive the documents by 2 Mondays from now. I believe we set a deadline for September 12th. And so if we get those documents and we get them scanned, I will share the link to the members, as well as anyone who's interested in seeing these documents. There are a total of 28 items that we've requested. And so we understand that this is just a huge amount of documents that we're requesting. And so as they come in, I'll share that with the members. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Manglonia. Any other discussions? We're ready? Ready? All right. Before we move forward to the next item, I'd just like to refer Governor's Communication 22-150 to the Committee on JGO and PUTC. This is in regards to the appointment of Mr. Benjamin Hook Lunak Borja to serve as a member of the PUC. The deadline is October 19, 2022. Please take note. Thank you. We now move down to item number 8, since we took care of item number 7 on Saturday. So under House Communications, I recognize the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under item 8, House Communications, we have House Communication 22-91 through 22-102. House Communications 22-100, 101, and 102 has been added by the House.
Thank you, clerk. Any discussions under House Communications? Ready, members? All right, thank you. We now move down to item number 9, communications from the judicial branch, and I recognize the clerk.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. Under item 9, communications from the judicial branch, we have one item, Judicial Branch Communication 22-7.
Thank you, clerk. Any discussions under communications from the judicial branch? Ready? Ready. Thank you, colleagues. I'd like to refer this communication to the Committee on JGO. This is regarding comments for the proposed rule of admissions. Deadline is October 7. Yep, it's as mentioned by the legal counsel, it's a default. It becomes approved, passed, if no action is taken by the deadline. Nice, Chairwoman.
So noted, Mr. Speaker. I'll continue in during miscellaneous with respect to this communication. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Selena Babalta. With no further discussion, we'll now move down to item number 10, communications from department and agencies, and I recognize the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under item 10, communications from department and agencies, We have Department and Agency Communication 2258 through 2261. Department and Agency 20, Communication 2261 has been added by the House.
Thank you, Clerk. Any discussions under communications from departments and agencies? Ready? All right, thank you. We now move down to item number 11, miscellaneous communications. And once again, I recognize the clerk.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. Under item 11, miscellaneous communications, we have miscellaneous communication 22-123 through miscellaneous communication 22-130. 22-130 has been added by the House.
Thank you, Clerk. Um, Any discussions under miscellaneous communications? Ready? All right, thank you, colleagues. We now move down to item number 12, reports of standing committees, and I recognize the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under item 12, reports of standing committees, we have two items ready for action, for House action, Standing Committee Report 2252 and Standing Committee Report 22-53.
Thank you, Clerk. I now recognize the floor leader for the proper motion. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I now offer a motion to adopt Standing Committee Report 22-52, reporting on Senate Bill number 2205 SS1, entitled to establish a behavioral health scholarship and for other purpose. Your House Committee on Education recommends the House pass the bill in form of Senate Bill 2205 SS1 HD1. So moved.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made to adopt Standing Committee Report 22-52, and it has been seconded. Any discussions? Ready? All in favor to adopt Standing Committee Report 22-52, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Standing Committee Report 22-52 is hereby adopted. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can we take a quick recess? Real quick?
Short recess. We'll rise back to session, and when we went on recess, the floor leader had the floor, so floor leader, hit the floor again.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for that clarification. And last on our standing committee report, I offer a motion to adopt standing committee report number 22-53, reporting on Senate Bill number 22-17 SD1 to establish a mandatory presentation of all personal photo identification for any debit card or credit card transaction made in person and any check, cash exchange, or other purchase for all business establishment in the Commonwealth. Your House Committee on JGO recommends that the House file Senate Bill number 22-17 SD1. So move.
A motion has been made by the floor leader to adopt Standing Committee Report 22-53, and it has been seconded. Any discussions? Ready? I see a smile on these three members over here. Anybody? Don't hold back on discussions. Recognize Representative Lipan Guerrero.
Just for clarification, Mr. Speaker, what's the intent of filing this committee report?
Well, it's a recommendation by the committee, and the recommendation is stated, so it's a report coming out from the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Guerrero, for that. Chairwoman Selena Babauta, recognized.
Thank you, and thank you, Representative Joseph Lipon Guerrero. The committee recommends that we file this bill because even a first string search on the internet will tell you that the issuers of the cards, MasterCard, Visa, the three major ones, in fact prohibit establishments from requiring businesses to require an identification card to use their debit cards or their credit cards issued by these major companies, Visa, MasterCard, American Express. Some of them, in fact, strictly stated in their websites that businesses are not required to and should not require individuals to present their identification cards when they want to use their debit or credit cards. Also, it's and in that respect, it would be an overreach of this local body to require individuals to present their identification cards at our establishments. And that is the reason why the JGO committee recommends the filing of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Any further discussions? Ready? All right, all in favor to adopt Standing Committee Report number 22-53, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Standing Committee Report number 22-53 is hereby adopted. That takes care of our reports on standing committees. We now move down to item number 13, which is reports of special and conference committees. We have none. Item number 14, unfinished business. We have none. And we now move down to item number 15, and I'd like to recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And first the only one on our list for resolution calendar, I move to adopt House Resolution number 22-23, a House resolution to commend Ms. Dina A. Tenorio in honor and recognition as the first female indigenous person from the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands as a certified commercial diver, and for her dedication and success as an innovative young entrepreneur in the CNMI. So move.
Thank you, floor leader. Motion has been made by the floor leader to adopt House Resolution number 22-23, and it has been seconded. Any discussions? Ready? All right, all in favor to adopt House Resolution number 22-23, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Resolution number 22-23 is hereby adopted. That's the only resolution on our resolution calendar. So we'll now move down to item number 16, bill calendar, and I recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And so we're in line with the rules. I now offer a motion to suspend Rule 7, Section 9, committee reports on all documents, and Rule 9, Section 9 and 10, first and second reading. So move.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made by the floor leader to suspend pertinent rules for passage of the House bill on calendar, and has been seconded. Any discussions on the floor? Ready? All right, all in favor of the motion offered by the floor leader, please say aye. Aye, okay. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The motion here is, motion carries. Recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I now offer a motion to pass House Bill number 22-113 to amend 8 CMC subsection 1204 to remove a 10-day restriction on to submit a marriage certificate by any religious or non-religious entity and for other purposes. So move.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made to pass House Bill 22-113, and it has been seconded. Any discussions on the floor? Recognize Representative John Paul Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And just a brief history of this proposed legislation. My office was received calls from potential spouse beneficiaries, and they were having troubles claiming their beneficiaries because their marriage certificates were not submitted to the recorder's office at the court's clerk of court. And I did reach out to the settlement fund and spoke to a staff just to confirm if there are such claims that are still pending. And I was told that there are some beneficiaries that are still trying to get their spouse beneficiaries, and most of them were married before 1980. And some of these marriages, the certificates from the churches were not submitted to the clerk of court, and therefore, because there is a provision of 10 days after the ceremony, deadline to submit was exhausted, and these potential beneficiaries couldn't claim their beneficiaries, and therefore the proposed legislation before us under House Bill number 22-113 pretty much strikes out the 10 days deadline to submit a marriage certificate. And I'm hoping that if we pass this in both houses, uh, and if the legislation is signed into law by striking out this 10 days deadline, I'm hoping that these potential beneficiaries can acquire themselves their marriage certificate from the very church that or non-religious entity and submit it to the recorder's office, and therefore hopefully uh, get their claims and potentially get their spouse beneficiaries. So, if there's any questions, I'm willing to answer. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative John Paul Sablan. The floor is still open for discussions. Ready? Okay. With that, I recognize the clerk to please call the roll.
Representative Vada? Representative Fatal?
Yes.
Representative Selena Babauta?
Gungan.
Representative Joel Komotso?
Ungan.
Representative Vicente Komotso?
Yes.
Representative Demapan?
Ungan.
Representative Guerrero?
Ungan.
Representative Lizama?
Yes.
Representative Magovnia? Representative Mangolonia?
Yes.
Representative Probst?
Yes.
Representative John Paul Sablan?
Hungan.
Representative Nicolas?
Yes.
Representative Imtamay?
Aware.
Representative Yumo?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, all 16 members present voted yes.
Thank you, clerk. With all 16 members present voting yes, House Bill 22-113 hereby passes the House. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I now offer a motion to pass House Bill number 22-84, a bill for an act to repeal and reenact 2 CMC subsection 4323 and 2 CMC subsection 4324C to mandate the Department of Public Lands to review all past pending claims to grant such title to qualified persons and for other purposes. So moved.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made to pass House Bill number 22-84 and has been seconded. Any discussions on the floor? Recognize Representative Royat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've been trying to read up and understand more of this House bill that our good colleague, floor leader, is introducing. I'm just curious as to the urgency for this bill. Um, is there any reason why it was pulled out of committee or no committee report as to for this bill?
Recognize floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, the bill was introduced way back since October last year. I tried to get the chairwoman to move on the bill, but it never got through to NR. And so I had moved the bill out of committee so that the bill would be acted on. The bills, it's not an old bill. Well, actually, it's a bill that was introduced in the past, I believe 12 and 14 legislature, and that is to have DPO give a waiver act to people that use public land for grazing and farming and grazing to obtain legal title of such land. And so we haven't heard anything. I felt that it should be moved on, given the chance that the members decide based on the policy, and if we have the votes, then we will move it. at least have DPO go through the process and review all the claims again and issue lands to such qualified people. Thank you. I hope that answers your question.
Representative Roy Ada, you still have the floor.
Yes, thank you, colleague Yumo, for that. The reason why I bring this up because yes, I know that I know somewhat of the agriculture homestead policies or people obtaining the deed for occupying the agriculture homestead for a certain period of time. But even at this point, there are many people that have not received any property due to whatever issues or matters is pertaining at DPL. So I think the position that I hold right now is that we should do more, uh, I guess, public hearing or outreach to the public and see what their concerns would be in regards to this bill. Other than that, Mr. Speaker,
Thank you, Representative Roy Ada. Any further discussions? Recognize the Vice Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative Adda, for raising those concerns. And just in line with what the floor leader had mentioned, this is actually an existing statute. Unfortunately, back in the 14th legislature, when they introduced this legislation, they actually had a list of names of individuals that actually qualified for these specific lands that were utilized since the 60s and 70s. But back then, DPO was under MPLA, and I'm not going to put any blame on the board members or any of the employees back then, but only certain individuals were given their properties, and this is to make sure that those individuals that qualified back then are actually given those properties rightfully so. And a lot of these grazing properties are much smaller than the actual grazing properties that are being given out today. Instead of hectares, they're down to like maybe 3,000 square meters, or some of them 1,000 square meters. And a lot of those individuals that were utilizing the properties then were only using it for subsistence, which is very small piggeries or grazing and vegetables. So these are now on to their second or some of them third generation of these properties that they continue to pay the public lands, but they were qualified individuals of the existing statute from the 14th legislature. But unfortunately, like I said, they removed the names when the Senate passed it back then. So the individuals that were persistent got their properties, and a lot of those individuals that got their properties were larger properties than the ones that are actually qualified for those properties. I understand the concerns. It's that we're behind in regards to homestead property, especially for the island of Saipan. But this will affect the cinema in entirety. There's maybe 14 or 15 families that if I can recall back, if I'm not mistaken, from the 14th legislature. Only a few got those properties. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Floor Leader. Floor is still open for discussions. We're ready, members? All right, members, thank you. Recognize the clerk to please call the roll.
Representative Adda,
no.
Representative Ato,
Yes.
Representative Selena Babauta,
Yes.
Representative Joel Komotso,
None.
Representative Vicente Komotso,
Yes.
Representative Mapan, Representative Guerrero,
Good.
Representative Lizama,
Ungan.
Representative Magovnia, Representative Mangolonia,
Yes.
Representative Probes,
Yes.
Representative John Paul Sablan,
Ungan.
Representative Cindy Glass,
Yes.
Representative Yang Tamai,
Howard.
Representative Yumo,
Yes.
Representative Demapan. Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, 15 members voted yes and 1 member voted no.
Thank you, Clerk. With 15 voting yes and 1 voting no, House Bill number 22-84 hereby passes the House. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And now for a motion to pass House Bill number 2285, a bill for an act to amend Title 1, Division 2, Part 1, Chapter 1, Article 7 of the Commonwealth Code pertaining to private employers to exercise a volunteer veterans preference in employment relating to veterans relief and for other purposes. So move.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made to pass House Bill number 22-85 and has been seconded. Any discussions on the floor? Ready? Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Ada? Representative Fatal?
Yes.
Representative Senior Babauta?
Hungan.
Representative Joel Komatsu?
Hungan.
Representative Vicente Komatsu?
Yes.
Representative Mapan?
Hungan.
Representative Guerrero?
Hungan.
Representative Zama?
Ungan.
Representative Magovnia? Representative Mangolonya?
Yes.
Representative Probst? Representative John Paul Sablan?
Ungan.
Representative St. Nicholas?
Yes.
Representative Yangtame?
Yes.
Representative Yumo?
Yes.
Representative Ada?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, all 16 members present voted yes.
Thank you, clerk. With all 16 members present voting yes, House Bill number 22-85 hereby passes the House. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And now for a motion to pass Senate Bill number 2205 SS1 HD1, a bill for an act to establish a behavioral health professional scholarship and for other purposes. So move.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made to pass Senate Bill 22-05, Senate Substitute 1, House Draft 1, and it has been seconded. Any discussions on the floor? Ready? Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Ada?
Yes.
Representative Fatal?
Yes.
Representative Selena Babauta?
Hungan.
Representative Joel Komatsu?
Hungan.
Representative Vicente Komatsu?
Yes.
Representative Mapan?
Hungan.
Representative Guerrero?
Hungan.
Representative Zama?
Ungan.
Representative Magovnia? Representative Mangolonya?
Yes.
Representative Probst? Representative John Paul Sablan?
Ungan.
Representative St. Nicholas?
Yes.
Representative Yangtame?
Yes.
Representative Yumo?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker?
Awed.
Mr. Speaker, all 16 members present voted yes.
Thank you, clerk. With all 16 members present voting yes, Senate Bill 22-05 SS1 HD1 hereby passes the House. Thank you, members. We now move down to item number 17, miscellaneous business, and the floor is open. I recognize Representative Selena Babauta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With respect, as I alluded to earlier, with respect to Judicial Branch Communication 22-7 dated August 8th, 2022, the JGO Committee has confirmed a public hearing scheduled for September 22nd, Thursday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Pedro P. Tenorio Multipurpose Building. And notices will be sent out to the Attorney General's office, the NMI Bar Association, Public Defender's Office, as well as other entities, Micronesian Legal Services. Also scheduled with this communication are other legislative initiatives that will be up for public comments during that time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Selena. Floor is still open under miscellaneous. Recognize Vice Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just want to wish the members, the LB staff, and our general public happy Labor Day weekend. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Vice Speaker. Floor is still open under miscellaneous. Ready? All right, we'll move down to number 18, announcements. Any announcements? Ready? Who?
It's not Vice Chair now. Something to
Representative John Paul, you have something to announce? I recognize Representative John Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to inform the members that I have delegated our floor leader, Ralph Yumo, to be the acting SNIO chair. As we all know that Chairman Vinny is off island and floor leader Sheila Babauta is also off island and I will be leaving today for an off island trip. Just to inform the members. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative John Paul Sablan. So noted. Any more under announcements?
Please forward your invoices to my office right away.
All right, ready? We now move down to adjournment, and I recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'll offer a motion to adjourn subject to the call of the chair. So move.
Thank you. Motion has been made by the floor leader to adjourn the session, subject to the call of the chair, and has been seconded. Any discussions? Ready? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, stay. The ayes have it. This session's now adjourned.